What up, y'all? It's your boy T, and welcome back to me. Now, listen, I'm tired, okay? Freaking oven dude is supposed to come in the morning. This dude didn't. I'm pissed, so I'm here. Let me tell y'all about the Paris catacombs, okay? Did y'all, if I tell you this, will you believe me? What if I told you right now underneath Paris is the biggest freaking conspiracy ever? 2 million people living in Paris right now. On top of Paris, what they're built on top of is 300 kilometers of tunnels and 6 million dead bodies. Right now underneath Paris. Right now underneath Lumos. It's called the Paris catacombs, and the story goes that in the late 1700s, as more and more were dying in Paris, Paris was beginning to like freaking stink, and that place sucked. So the king at the time said, I'm gonna have to take these dudes and put them somewhere. Hey, there's all these mining tunnels. Let's stuff them underneath Paris. So Paris's foundation has 6 million dead bodies. This is the Paris catacombs. Now, you might have heard over the years something about Lumos catacombs. This is not a thing. But it's some purely speculative, and I've never actually looked into the Lumos catacombs. I'm sure they're talking specifically about this. But this is what could arise in Pokemon Legends ZA. The Lumos catacombs, where underneath, you see this tower, underneath all this is a big conspiracy where Lumos itself was built upon something. And so, you know, if I fast forward to the end where Zygarde is looking at Lumos, dang, imagine it like that. Imagine him looking at Prism Tower, knowing this whole crap, what used to exist before Lumos. This could be a conspiracy that happens in ZA. You know, a couple things has been happening in my mind. One, they could take this catacombs conspiracy and combine this with the Napoleon Haussmann renovation of 150 years ago. They can take him wanting to redevelop Paris and combine that with this in the modern day. Remember, Pokemon jumps all over the place. Just because that happened 150 years ago, it doesn't mean it can't be adapted in the modern day. So it's almost like the Paris renovation, that's what's happening right now, combined with potentially the Paris catacombs. So I'm going to show you photos of the Paris catacombs, and this is when I want you guys to notice something, okay? And so it's going to be freaky. Don't freaking blame me. This is what it looks like. So remember, they're mining tunnels. And to make Paris more livable, they took all the dead bodies and stuffed them here. What's the first thing you notice that's weird about this? Who found passion in this? Who passionately, you were given the task of throwing garbage out. Why are they organized so beautifully? Hey, no one knows. No one knows, except you can go and visit it like a museum. A bunch of dead bodies under Paris. What's going on? You know? Why is it organized like that? So here's where I want to, something was on my mind. It'll probably come to me later, but here's where I want to propose something. As creepy as this is for a kid's game, it is thematically 100% on point for X and Y and Kalos and ZA. The theme of the dead, the theme of skeletons in the closet, you know? This is one giant skeleton underneath Paris / Lumos. And we have AZ using this ultimate weapon that you can see the remnants in Geos, and she sucked the life force out of a bunch of people in Pokemon to win that war. So if this exists under Paris, and remember, it doesn't exist in the Pokemon world yet. We're just technically it would be under Lumos. If it exists, it brings into question all sorts of ideas. Did someone else use the ultimate weapon in Lumos before Lumos existed? And Lumos was built on top of that horrible history. And so that's why you can see this. There's a lot of freaky things when it comes to the Paris catacombs. Like, for example, well, this exists. Remember I said 350 kilometers underneath of tunnels underneath Paris. This means that if you go into the tunnels and you know where to dig up, you can dig up in crazy places. Like, for example, if I'm understood this correctly, people dug into a jewelry store because Paris is straight up built on top of all this, and they robbed it from underground. This place has gotten more and more creepy and off limits. You're not supposed to go here. Most of the kilometers are off limits. There's only a small place that's visible as a museum like this, but you have to be really rich to view it. So take this into the Pokemon world. What if someone launched the ultimate weapon after AZ buried it? Or what if AZ, after he launched it 3,000 years ago, he wasn't just wandering for 3,000 years? He was on his villain ass. And so anytime something upset him, like every 200 or so years, he would just genocide again and again. And so that's a crazy view to give to this man who's running a hotel now. But I kind of like that view, you know. It makes more sense that he was doing things for 3,000 years before this redemption. But either way, what I just described about how they could rob a jewelry store, you could have something where you get to the catacombs through a random place, a random building in Lumos. Because here's the thing. If Paris is built on top of this is the truth. There are all sorts of entrances to the catacombs in Paris. The police now block them off, but people keep secret entrances to go there. And people live down there, people mug people who go down there. Bro, it's a crazy conspiracy. You would think I'm lying to you. But this is the exact location that Lumos is built on top of. So I just wanted to share that idea to y'all. And then bring forward one last thing, which is you see this tower. Someone calls you to the tower at the end. You can see Team Magma symbols and all. I have a bigger idea to go with this. It reminds me of like something Battle Frontier related. But here's what I'm going to say. Let's say Jet calls you here 90% into the game. And this is when the Origin Dialga Palkia Climax is about to happen. How does Mega Evolution work? Imagine this. I'll get to that in a second. I wanted to mention alchemy. France, alchemy has a big tie together, and we already talked about how Lumos is shaped like a giant transmutation circle, but let's not get too much into that voodoo. It could play a role here. Put that on the back burner. When I look at this, it's like all these trainers are given this message to come to Prism Tower. All these strong trainers, that's why the magma and aqua symbol is there, as if it's a Battle Frontier. But that's just an Easter egg. When this happens, 90% into the story, all the strong trainers are going to come to Prism Tower, and here's what's going to happen. How does Mega Evolution work? You have a keystone, your Pokemon holds a Mega Stone, you use those to communicate and interact, and you Mega Evolve your Pokemon. That's how it functions. What's better than quantity is small but good quality. If you call a bunch of strong trainers into Prism Tower, you use them to Mega Evolve something bigger, right? You use them to perform something where they're gonna do some ritual to all of Lumos. You use like 20 strong trainers trapped inside Prism Tower as the thing that's gonna resonate with this whatever. And maybe this could be the A Legendary or whatever. I'm pretty much trying to link Jet as the one who sends this out, and her as the one who's mysteriously maybe connected or aware of the catacombs under Lumos. Maybe she's aware of 200 years ago. Let's leave AZ alone. Let's say 200 years ago, someone found AZ's weapon and used it in Lumos. Some battle happened, and at the conclusion of that, Lumos was built on top of all those dead bodies. Let's say Jet uncovered all this, and this is what the game is about. She's trying to recreate it and have everything happen again. And so you'd imagine, in the climax of the game, the equivalent of going to the Distortion World in Platinum, you would go to the catacombs, and it would look like this, but more appropriate for a kid's game. And again, it's thematic with X and Y, the taking of souls, you know, as we uncover what Mega Evolution is about, which is, you know, something that's, it's like Philosopher's Stones. This is what I was trying to bring full circle, right? Philosopher's Stones and alchemy is a lot like what Mega Evolution is, and a lot thematically appropriate with this. I saw a lot of people saying, bro, this region looks too small. I'm fine with the size of it, but let's say it is too small. What if it's because there's more developed underneath? You know, what if there's a whole section of the game underground through these tunnels? Trainers down there. How do you get regional variants in the modern day? You put them in the tunnel. You make it so when you go to the tunnel, you find all these weird variants and you don't know the origin of them, but you just call them all these weird Calosian variants or catacomb variants, whatever they'll call the Paris catacombs when they convert into Pokemon, or if. The whole bright outlook on the surface, I think, is perfect to counterpart with something gloomy and disgusting underneath. And all you need is AZ at the center telling you all the tales like he knew it anyway the whole time. And me speaking of this whole concept of how anything could have an entrance to the catacombs underneath, the Z Hotel. AZ runs this hotel. I don't know if he's been in possession for many years or if he took on an antique hotel. But hey, now that we own this antique hotel, what if AZ owns it because there's a secret entrance in here? You know? Yeah, he keeps his rare possessions from his travels there, but there's also an entrance to the catacombs. And if he's the one who used the weapon, or even if someone else used the weapon, right? He built it. I would want to imagine something, I'll end the video with this, more grand than just using the ultimate weapon. I want to believe that there's a second stage, that when AZ used the weapon, that if he went further, the weapon would have become the A legendary. If an incident happened before Lumos' history, you can almost imagine they did the level 2 of the ultimate weapon and super absorbed souls to where the catacombs underneath would really look like this and they have to hide it. I would imagine they would hide it in the Pokemon version versus it being a museum like this. But the main thing I want to ask y'all is, if this story is true about the catacombs, rather than tossing all the bodies here, why are they decorated? It's almost like we don't have the actual full picture. And so I want to ask y'all, what would you say Pokemon could make the picture about why they're decorated? There's nothing really artistic about it. I can't even say AZ was trying to soothe the soul, so he did this, taking care of the bodies. Nah, bro. It's all effed up. It's like they're treated as freaking stone. Alright, don't get too freaked out. I'll exit out. This is badass to imagine that the reason it looks so simple is because underneath this is some madness. Like, imagine you liberate the entire city, right? The 5 noble Pokemon equivalent, and then they take you underground and there's another 2. Y'all let me know your thoughts in the comments. Would they incorporate the Paris catacombs? It's flawlessly fitting with dead bodies and souls and AZ, a hotel secret entrance. Come on, Game Freak. Please take the opportunity. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.